The discussion today was to present how we at LEGO align business and customer outcomes. And I would like at the same time to present a little bit, how we do our work and do our job at LEGO, how the company is actually running. So I will have a lot of slides, and I will try to be as quick as possible. I'm already probably late on schedule. So very quickly, who am I? I was introduced. Let's skip this one. I worked long time ago at Intel. I worked for Kodak, I worked for Orange, Fujitsu, and I joined LEGO about 7 months ago. The reason why I wanted to mention that is because any organization I've been working at, it's always been amazing to see the misalignment between business and actually user experience of products. Intel had, for example, back in 2001 or something, a product called New Generation of Information Platform. A huge project, $40 million. Internally, we were calling this project Never Going into Production. At Kodak, well, you know the story. At Orange, I brought this screenshot because it was really a stupid thing. We had this launch of the very first set-top box. Actually, I think in Europe, it was like a big thing. And super design, super specification, super, well, everything was supposed to run smoothly. But then, on the purchasing side, they went to China and bought some elements to put the box together. And some guy found out that the red lights were cheaper than the green lights. So the first model was actually blinking red when it was actually working fine. So we got like, I don't know, millions of support calls for people complaining about the box not working. And it was probably like a 0.001 cent difference from the green light. So yeah. So any company you go to, you actually think things. In Fujitsu, I guess, I don't know the number of times I had to explain that it's not and we're not doing like digital cameras. So the brand was not as strong as the current company I work for. And the company I work for is the LEGO Group. Why is LEGO here today? I was a bit worried, wondering how you think about it. It's a bit strange to me because a lot of people came to our booth and said like, why are you here? But at the same time, everybody finds it okay. I think we have a very strong brand, and I would like to go a little bit into it, explain a little bit where we come from, how we foster this environment of work and this vision at every level. So LEGO is a family-owned business. It's been grounded in 1932. We are celebrating in a few years' time the 100 years of LEGO. And it's still the same family that owns LEGO. It was founded by someone called Ole Kirk Christensen in a very small place called Billund. It's still a very small place. But that's actually the headquarters of LEGO. And today, you can see actually still the workshop where it all started. The place is also holding all the LEGO sets that were ever made by LEGO. And it's just opposite our new, like brand new headquarters, very modern building. We are the #1 toy company in terms of revenues. We are in more than 140 countries. In fact, we have hubs in Billund, Denmark, in London, in Singapore, in Shanghai, and in Enfield, in the US. And we have factories in Mexico and Czech Republic, Hungary, Billund, and in China. I'm one of the 17,000 people working for LEGO. We have about 250 designers from over 40 countries designing the set that you know, and actually the company is renewing like every year 60% of the product. So every year we need to innovate and put 60% of the products new on the shelves. And according to some survey, we are the #2 reputable brand. So it means a lot to us. We have definitely a vision that we have for a long time, and which is like to inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow. And that's, I guess, what sets us apart from other businesses. We are definitely purpose-driven and passionate about what we are doing. So we want to, we feel like we have a mission. We have to teach children how to play, and we want them to grow and become adults through play. We think it's an important value, and we know that a lot of things happen through playing, so you learn a lot through that. So in 1932, the company started with the first wooden duck. It was actually not a brick. In 1958, the brick was created, and the brick from 1958 still fit with the bricks from today. You can actually still fit them together. In 1978 came the minifigures, and with the minifigures came a lot of role-playing with it. In 1998, we created the Mindstorms, which created the full generation of robotics experience and programming. And for those who don't know, Lego comes also from a Danish term. It's a short reduction of the term leg godt, which is play well. So the reason why I wanted to give that is because it hasn't been always blue sky for Lego. In fact, there was a turnaround happening in 2003. The company really was close to going bankrupt. There was a big issue. There was no clear strategy apparently anymore. We kind of became a little bit arrogant, I guess, at this stage, and we had to ask ourselves a lot of questions. The answer we gave was to the reaction that was made at that time was to create some partnerships. So you know most of them, I guess, and especially the middle one. We also fostered the user-led innovation, and also, I guess, I don't need to explain too much of those projects. We have this Lego IDs today that is running very nicely. We release new sets, fans. We call them AFOL, so adult fans of Lego. Have a huge community, and they actually can propose new sets every quarter, and people can vote for it, and we will actually produce those sets. We'll be selecting those. And we also had a much wider consumer touch point, so we went through having just the Lego sets to also proposing games, movies, obviously, and the parks and the T-shirts and the shops. We're actually growing the number of shops worldwide a lot, actually. We opened 75 shops in China, physical shops. And we are also, we were concerned we need to treat users as individuals. So some sets will have some specific features. For example, this Bugatti will have a unique plate number. And you will, if you go to Lego.com, you will now have a VIP program that treats you as a person and not as any customer. I wanted to mention this book because it was mentioned to me by probably someone in the audience a few months back, and I had a good reading on that. We also, and probably the most important element in this turnaround, we also went back and met real users, interviews on site with proper users. And it happened in Germany. There was a story you can read in this book that made Lego realize that we needed to go back to the basics, that we went a little bit far away. In fact, in 1997, this is the way the fire truck was looking like. In 2001, it didn't even look like a fire truck anymore. And if you look, if you buy a Lego set today, you will get actually a proper fire truck looking set. We have things ahead of us, so like what we want to go next is like to reshape the retail, digitalize the play and have more consumer engagement. We have also like to take care of a global economic and demographic shift, and we also want to focus on the environment, which is obviously for a company that is producing plastic a big concern. This is our 2022 plan, and it was set a long time ago, so we are nearly reaching it. And you can see that in terms of portfolio, get back into the innovator space, I think we did pretty well, and we will keep on going this way. Take control of our own brand across channel, it's also quite an achievement from 2003. Geographic expansion, I explained that we are like expanding massively. And on my side, I'm more on this enablers side, so ensure that the future, a future-proof foundation. I think it's important that you know it's a very like probably like a legend story, and it's been used like 100 times. But I think it illustrates a little quite well how we actually have a purpose-driven company at Lego. Anyone in the company feels like they know what they are here for. They know what the company is doing. And I think even, yeah, it was used by Facebook also, this quote. So what we have behind is a Lego brand framework, and you can Google it and find it, so it's nothing like confidential, where we have a mission, aspiration, promises, spirit, and values. And on the promises part, I would like to also show you an example of how we do like the planet promise. 25% of the revenue of Lego go to the foundation, where we send, where we actually do a lot of charity work and help like refugees, for example, in camps. We have our local community engagement, helping worldwide 840,000 children in 26 countries. We use 100% renewable energy already. And as of today, we're already producing 80 elements out of non-plastic elements or ingredients, like plants-based things. So we're not quite there yet, but we have promised to be there by 2030. I'm actually part of a department at Lego called Business Technology. You saw the mission that the Lego Group has, and at my department level, business technology level, so what you call you would traditionally call IT, we also have a mission, and you will see that we have that at every level in the company, down to the product level. So our mission at Business Technology is to maximize the value from the Lego Group's technology investments. And we do that working actually in an agile way. So my boss, the CIO, is the product owner. And we make sure that we deliver things on a sprint basis. We created recently, for example, a new version of our product line catalog, so that everybody at Lego can look at what we are doing, what we are promising to the organization, who's owning what, and what technology we're using for that. On our side, we also make sure that we have a nice, a very meaningful way of organizing those initiatives, those products. I think to give you an idea, we probably have about 190 products currently in the IT product line catalog. And we make sure that there is always a team behind a product, that one team manages at least one product, that there are at least 2 products per product line, because we organize also by product lines, that products should make sense for the business, talking about the alignment with business, products that mirror what the customer can buy, and that the products do not mirror how we are organized. That's also quite important. And to give you also a little bit of an idea of how we report success of this organization up to the executive leadership team, we also put our value creation, so our outcomes, based on those 4 criteria. How did we help the organization driving demand, innovate for the future, strengthen the foundation, and energize everybody every day? That's another aspect that I will come back to later. I'm the senior director in charge of the UX, mobile, and portals team. We also have our team and organization level. We say that we enable other product teams to succeed in implementing great UX and UI in their products by providing the platforms, tools, techniques, and guidelines. We own our own products. It's just a few. I mean, a couple of them I could not really share. But I'm happy to tell you that we are like owning the UX Partner Program, the UX Academy, the Enterprise Core UX Platform, the Intranet Experience, the Service Portal Experience, Web Solution, and so forth. So we actually help Lego employees to do their job. We are supporting all the applications for enabling the company to run the factories, to run the shops, the Lego brand retail stores, but also the employees' applications for HR, for procurement, and so forth, and for the intranet. There's quite a lot. And the team is actually working hard, but also having fun. So that's the team at work and the team at the offsite that the last one we had in Denmark a few weeks ago. So now I wanted to give you this introduction about Lego. I wanted to tell you a little bit about, well, give you a definition of my definition of how we see our outcomes. So an outcome for me would be a measurable change in human behavior that creates value. And then the next thing I think to get started in the topic, it will be to tell you also what I see as a business value. And I can recommend this book from Mark Schwartz. He's now working for Amazon, AWS. He used to work for the immigration in the US, very interesting position where he introduced actually DevOps. And what Mark Schwartz is telling us is that the business value is not a simple formula that's somehow known by the business, and that it's something that should be discovered, and not discovered only once, but investigated on a regular basis, so have a real cycle of investigation, making sure on a regular basis that we are not going the wrong direction. And I think I like this sentence. Like, it says, like, if you want to talk about business value, you will say, like, the business values business value. So I put it into like 10 things that I think matter. There were a lot of presentations over this couple of days, and I don't want to go like too deep into some specific topic. If you want, for example, information about the design sprint, you can Google it. And, you can find a lot of stuff that case studies or things that were already published by Lego not so long ago. So things that were a little bit complementary to what has been said. The first thing would be to follow not some, but the 12 Agile Principles. I think it's important to keep that in mind because you will probably think in terms of being agile with deliver frequently. It's not all, it's doing agile, but it's not like being agile. And there's a lot of other principles to take care of, especially reflect and adjust. And yeah, I think it's worth mentioning probably at the very first recommendation. If you do Scrum, you will also have to bear in mind that Scrum doesn't really tell you how to build. It doesn't tell you what to build. It tells you how to build. So number 2 will be like start with a vision. And I gave you the introduction about Lego, so I really wanted to make clear that we need a vision at every single step from the organization, top of the organization to business unit to actually the product level. Jared Spool, which I follow, I mean, quite a nice guy to follow, says to us that he's believing that design should be translated into at least one of the 5 business goals. So it's like increasing revenue, decreasing cost, increasing the money you bring in from new customers, increasing the amount of existing money, or increasing your overall long-term shareholder value. It tells us like you should really, I mean, every business, you should actually follow a business goals, otherwise what you're doing is just wrong. I was happy to see this morning that someone mentioned the OKRs. Do it. Use the OKRs. They are really valuable. And it wasn't mentioned in the presentation I attended yesterday. I was a bit surprised, but it's actually a very powerful tool to make sure that you're always like aligned with the outcomes that you want to deliver. And why is it like that? It's because it allows you to measure progress. It shows how far along we are towards a desired business outcome. But if I want to talk about OKRs, we'll take so I assume that we are fine with just mentioning that OKRs, and you've got like also plenty of documentation to do OKRs yourself. What you can do is to define also a product vision, but if you prefer doing it in a more fun way, you can also do a product drawing, a vision drawing. And that would be the kind of drawing that we would be using, for example, in our factory world. So not the most fun place to you can imagine, but they actually do it in a very fun way by putting this product vision into a drawing. You can also use this kind of templates to put what you're actually bringing to the business in a proper format, again, stating your product mission. I think one of the key things to perform is the right research, and I have decided to take some example, not from the software world, but from actually the product world. So we work, there's another department at Lego called Digital Product Team, DPT, and that's the way they work to come up with, for example, a full concept. They put the brand, the business, the market, the user, the interaction, the design, and technology. And they will only look at, they will only go ahead with a full concept when they have covered every one of those elements, and not everyone individually, but in combination. You will be first scouting for the technology, for example, mapping the options that are available to you, and you will look into the relationship between, for example, the cost and the volume, or the planet promise. Is the brand value okay with the planet promise that we want to offer to customers? Is it is the combination of cost and and business okay, or will it have an impact? So you will probably have some iterative way of producing a concept together that will not be fully valid yet, and you will have to adjust different parameters to make it become a proper concept. And one thing that this department is very good at, and we really like to learn from them, is the reusability thinking of things. So they will only also develop a concept when they think that some of the stuff that they develop is actually reusable. And that brings me to the next recommendation, which is anticipate needs. To try to think broader than the project that is on the table at the time. This is the Batmobile, and this is what happened. There was a project called the Duplo train. They got a brief. They had to develop a Duplo train for a specific product team, and it had to be ready and be released, and that's all the money or the budget they were getting was just for the Duplo train. And they anticipated, and some of you, I guess, got this explanation about the way it was working. They anticipated the coming needs by thinking, okay, today we get the Duplo train. What could happen next? We only have like these possible options. There will be some vehicles requests coming. There will be some creatures, but how many types of vehicles can we think about? There's not just only a few. So you will have like probably a train, a car, a tank, a boat, and maybe a function element vehicle. And took them a bit of time to come up with a Duplo train, but when the Duplo train was released, they were able to actually welcome any new request, any new product, and reuse the same remote control. So a train, you would just have to press 1, and it will just go on and keeps running. That's what you expect from a train. And then you will also like plug lights, and that's also what you expect from the train, that is like making some nice lights. If you use the same component, so the same element here, and plug a motor for a car instead of the block that you need for the train, you can reuse the same remote. You don't need to do anything else, but when you press the remote and release it, the cars will start and stop. And if you have a tank, you will have to put like 2 engines, one on the left side, one on the right-hand side. So you're a little bit annoyed, because if you just press up on both sides, your tank will start spinning. So this remote will actually allow you to turn it around, and you can pilot, as a child, you can pilot the tank in a very natural way. The reason why I'm mentioning that is because all of this thinking was not done later. It was done at the stage where they were just got on their table a request for a train. And this fantastic team did a tremendous job and was like thinking forward. And when the other requests came in, the Batmobile, they were like laughing. They were like, hey, we've got everything. We have all the elements ready. We just need to customize a little bit of things, and within weeks, they were able to release the Batmobile. Super return on investment, fast to market, excellent example. And we try to do the same in our way in the software department. We don't write any single line of code without thinking, how can we reuse it? The next thing will be to be brave, curious, and focused. Our role model at Lego are kids, and we really want to not forget how kids are thinking and how they behave. We want to also have those values, like think about them. So being brave would be like well, be curious actually. Would be for us, would mean to run experiment, to do like A/B testing. Being focused will be to reflect on what you've done and prioritize the right things. And being brave would be like able to say no and stand for what you really believe is good. It's important that everybody in the company feels they can do that. So that's what we also name and call energize everybody every day, because it's something we want to reflect on a daily basis. Another one would be like to think out of the box. And we promote something called mindfulness. That's something that a lot of companies, a lot of other IT companies I know already do. But that's helping a lot, actually. It's, I mean, the idea behind is that when you graduate, you're a super engineer, but you're an analyst, and you actually can deliver things you completely forget to be creative, to be innovative. And bringing this mindfulness in the company allows you to actually become more creative and more innovative. It also helps with something else. It's like 47% of the time, your mind is actually somewhere else, and it helps you, like, with just a few exercises during the day, you can actually train and try to get more focused on what you're doing and become more efficient. There are even like some meetings that start with mindfulness now, and they waste time with mindfulness at start, but they realize that they actually finish their meetings earlier than they used to. Think big, start small. It will be the MVP way. Team diversity. We have a lot of, we really have like a very international people and different skills. The product teams should also like have a broad range of people, a broad range of skills, and we promote something that we call the Lego over ego, that we also as a team think in terms of what is best for the company and not for myself. In our department, the UX, mobile and portal department, we also do something that we call the UX partnership and the UX academy. The UX partnership is the idea of having a consultant in the team talking to a senior director or to director in different departments and help them drive some strategy around UX. We're not enough to cover like the 190 products, but we can do something in terms of making sure that all the processes are actually thought about, and that we can answer questions, address specific needs at a higher level, and we complete it together with something that we called the UX Academy, where we, our UX consultants take a bit of their time to teach and train people within the product teams across the BT organization. They will set some 25 weeks long curriculum with having a mentor, so they will be available for specific people in product teams. They can reach out. Those people will have like assignments to do during a cycle of 2 weeks' time. And we hope for that most of the basic UX activities, and it's proving to work very well actually, can be performed even when we're not there and involved directly on site with the product team. So there will be like someone in each product team capable of carrying the torch and performing basic user interviews, user testing, and this kind of activities that we think are keys. The feedback is actually pretty good, and we get more and more trainees. And the last one will be the continuous delivery pipeline, but also this topic, for us to talk about this topic, and we're already over time, so will be probably another hour. So to sum it up, I wanted to say that to get this alignment done, we need to get a lot of transparency. We need to share the purpose and take time and use OKRs, use this vision exercise to actually align on what it is you want to achieve. Make sure that you get feedback loops so that you're not losing track and you can validate what you think is good. Have clear priorities and have this organizational learning behind, which I just explained. The last slide, which is probably the most heavy way of finishing the presentation, because this one is simple. I thought that it would be also quite interesting to illustrate it with this 3 gaps model that comes from Stephen Bungay, explaining that there is a gap between what we call a knowledge gap, that is the gap between what the difference between what we would like to know and what we actually know. There's an alignment gap between the difference between what we want people to do and what they actually do. And there is another gap called the effects gap, that is the difference between what we expect our actions to achieve and what they actually achieve. And a regular reaction to that would be to say, okay, it's simple. For the knowledge gap, I will just bring some more documentation. Or for the alignment gap, I will just make sure that people do their job. I will make more strict rules and more processes in place. Or for the action against outcome, I will just have a dictator in place and make sure that the manager is telling people what to do. But we actually think that it's the other way you should think. You should think that you should go in an explorative way, motivate people, so be definitely customer focused, and driven by achieving outcomes. So to address this knowledge gap, you will actually validate through experiments. You will treat your customers. I mean, you will consider your users as your customers. For the alignment gap, you will actually provide clear direction and priorities, invest in competencies, do small increments, and get feedback early. And for the effect gap, you will actually measure on outcomes, not on output. Thank you.